The steady thrum of the HMS Thunderchild's massive boilers filled Sergeant Benny Sears with a sense of pride that no alien technology could match. Steam hissed through the hybrid pipes, a beautiful marriage of human stubbornness and alien innovation. He ran his hand along one of the cold chutes, feeling the warmth radiating through the metal. Still performing your ritualistic touching of the machinery, Sergeant T. Lara's melodic voice carried a hint of amusement. The Centaurian engineer's iridescent scales shimmered under the red emergency lighting that was standard in the engine room. It's not a ritual, T. Lara. It's called preventive maintenance. Benny checked another reading on his tablet. And I don't care what you say, there's something honest about coal power. Something real. T. Lara's head frills fluttered, and what Benny had learned was their species' equivalent of an eye roll. Yes, coal-powered, as God intended you humans, and you're saying. She glided over to one of the hybrid control panels, her three-fingered hand dancing over the holographic display. Though I must admit, the efficiency improvements since we integrated the Centaurian heat exchangers are impressive. See? Old school and new school, working together. Benny grinned as he made his way down the catwalk. The Thunderchild was a marvel, a mega battleship that combined centuries of human naval tradition with the best technology the Alliance had to offer. Below him, automated systems fed coal into the massive boilers, while antimatter containment fields harnessed the heat with an efficiency that would have made Benny's engineer great-grandfather weep with joy. Engineering, this is the bridge. Captain Cook's voice came through clear on the comm system. Status report. Engineering here, Sir. Benny responded. All systems nominal. We're running at 82% efficiency on the main boilers. Heat exchange is optimal. Very good, Sergeant. Maintain current. The captain's voice cut off as red alert klaxons began blaring throughout the ship. Benny's tablet lit up with urgent notifications as T. Lara's frills extended in alarm. Emergency alert, the ship's AI announced in its calm voice. Colony Outpost Xavier 7 has ceased all communications. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Benny was already moving before the announcement finished, his hands flying over control panels as he began the process of bringing the massive boilers up to full combat power. Around him, his engineering team, human and alien alike, rushed to their stations. T. Lara, he shouted over the growing roar of machinery. Get the secondary heat exchangers online. We might need the extra power. As steam pressure built and coal rushed through the automated feeders, Benny felt the subtle shift in the deck plates that told him the Thunderchild was changing course. Somewhere up in the bridge, Captain Cook would be giving orders, preparing for whatever they might find at Xavier 7. But down here in engineering, among the heat and steam and coal dust, Benny knew one thing for certain: whatever threat they were about to face, they'd face it with good old-fashioned coal power pushing them forward. Just as God intended. All hands. This is Captain Cook. The old man's voice carried the weight of command that had earned him the respect of both human and alien crew members alike. We're pushing the Thunderchild to full steam. Engineering, give me everything she's got. Benny watched his readouts as the massive engines roared to life. Through the reinforced viewport of the engine room, he could see the stars beginning to blur as the hybrid drive engaged, combining the raw power of coal-fired steam with alien FTL technology. Bringing secondary boilers online now, T. Lara announced, her frills tight against her head in concentration. Though I still fail to understand why we can't simply use a standard antimatter drive like civilized species. The comment triggered a memory from Benny's early days in the service, 5 years ago. You humans are actually serious about this, the Rigelian ambassador had sneered, their crystalline features reflecting the harsh lights of the Alliance chamber. Coal? In space? This must be one of your species' infamous jokes. Young Private Sears had stood at attention, trying not to let his anger show as the Alliance Council debated humanity's admission. The HMS Thunderchild had been their flagship presentation, a demonstration of how humans could adapt and combine technologies while maintaining their own identity. With all due respect, Ambassador Admiral White had responded, our coal hybrid ships have proven more reliable than any other design in our testing. They're immune to quantum disruption, nearly impossible to hack, and they spew particles into space. Another delegate had interrupted. It's barbaric. That's when Captain Cook, then just a commander, had stepped forward. Barbaric his voice had carried across the chamber. Tell me, esteemed delegates, what happens when a solar flare hits a pure antimatter drive, or when your quantum cores lose containment? He'd paused for effect. Our ships keep running. They always keep running. The memory faded as a fresh alarm demanded Benny's attention. Sergeant, one of his human engineers, Martinez, called out. We're getting some weird readings from the forward heat exchangers. Benny rushed to the control panel, T-Lara close behind him. The readings were off the charts, but not in a bad way. The alien tech was somehow pulling even more efficiency from the coal fire than they'd thought possible. Ship's AI, Benny called out. What's our current speed? We are currently operating at 115% of rated maximum speed, the AI responded coolly. Coal consumption is optimal. Heat exchange efficiency is at unprecedented levels. T-Lara's frills fluttered in disbelief. That's impossible. The mathematical models clearly showed. That's the thing about coal power, Benny grinned, adjusting the feed rate to match their increased speed. It's not about mathematical models, it's about feel, about knowing your ship. The deck thrummed beneath them as the Thunderchild tore through space, black smoke trailing behind them in a way that still baffled most alien sensors. The ship's AI began updating them on their approach to Xavier's 7 system, but Benny was focused on his engines, on the perfect harmony of human tradition and alien innovation. Engineering. Bridge Captain Cook's voice cut through their concentration. Long-range sensors are picking up something ahead, something big. All hands prepare for potential combat operations. Benny shared a look with T-Lara, whose scales had taken on a paler hue. Whatever was waiting for them at Xavier 7, the Thunderchild would meet it head-on, driven by technology that most of the galaxy considered obsolete. You know what they say, Benny muttered as he began the combat preparation sequence. Old ways die hard. T-Lara's translator must have struggled with the idiom, but she nodded anyway, her frills now showing the determination he'd come to respect. Then let us ensure, she said, that it is not us who dies today. The Thunderchild pressed on through the void, her coal-fired heart burning bright and strong, racing toward whatever darkness awaited them at the edge of known space. Multiple contacts, the announcement echoed through the Thunderchild's comm system. Massive energy signatures at bearing 340 Mark II. Benny's hands flew over his controls, adjusting power flow as the massive battleship decelerated from FTL. Through the engine room's armored viewport, he caught his first glimpse of what they were facing. His blood ran cold. The ships were like nothing he'd ever seen. Massive, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They made the Thunderchild, one of the largest ships in human space, look like a tugboat in comparison. By the first suns, T-Lara whispered, her scales shifting to a deep blue of fear. Those vessels, their energy output exceeds anything in the Alliance database. Engineering, Bridge Captain Cook's voice was steady, despite what they were facing. Status report. All systems operational, Sir Benny responded, forcing himself to sound calmer than he felt. Coal feeds are optimal, hybrid systems are. The ship shuddered violently. Energy weapon discharge detected, the ship's AI announced. Unknown type. All Alliance vessels in the area are reporting critical power failures. Through the viewport, Benny watched in horror as the sleek antimatter-powered ships of their response fleet began to drift, their lights flickering and dying. Some kind of purple-tinged energy field was spreading through space like a fog. Some kind of dampening field, T-Lara said, her frills twitching as she analyzed the readings. It's disrupting quantum fields, fusion reactors, antimatter containment. Everything. Everything except, Benny realized with a start, the Thunderchild's coal-fired heart. Bridge, engineering, Benny called out. We're unaffected. Whatever that field is, it can't touch our primary systems. Confirmed, Captain Cook responded. We're the only capital ship still under power. All hands, battle stations. Sergeant Sears, give me everything those boilers have got. Benny turned to his team. You heard the captain. Martinez, open the auxiliary feeds. T. Lara, reroute power from the affected systems to our conventional drives. Everyone else, get those pressure levels up. The enemy ships were moving now, their impossible forms gliding through space with unnatural grace. One of them fired again, but the Thunderchild's coal smoke, that same smoke that had earned so much mockery from the Alliance, seemed to confuse their targeting. The shot went wide. Multiple hull breaches detected on decks 5 through 8, the AI reported. Emergency containment holding. Enemy vessels attempting to establish quantum data link. T. Lara's frills suddenly shot up in surprise. "Sergeant, they're trying to hack our systems, but..." She laughed, a sound Benny had never heard from her before. "They can't interface with the coal-fired components. Their cyber warfare is useless against steam pressure and mechanical linkages." A sudden impact rocked the ship. Benny grabbed a railing to steady himself, watching as one of the massive alien vessels moved to flank them. Through the chaos, he could hear Captain Cook issuing orders, coordinating their response with the few other human vessels in the area, all of them powered by good old-fashioned coal. "Engineering team," Benny called out, his voice rising above the hiss of steam and the roar of battle. "Those alien bastards think they can come into our space and shut down our ships. Well, they don't know who they're dealing with. Show them what coal-powered human engineering can do." As his team scrambled to their tasks, Benny caught sight of something through the viewport that made his heart skip a beat. More alien ships were emerging from FTL, their dark forms blotting out the stars. But the Thunderchild's boilers burned hot and bright, her hybrid systems humming with power that no dampening field could touch. They were humanity's first line of defense against this unknown enemy. And by God, they would make that defense count. Hard to starboard, Captain Cook's order rang through the ship as another alien energy beam sliced through space where they'd been moments before. "Engineering, status." Benny wiped sweat from his forehead, the engine room now a blazing inferno of activity. "Boilers at maximum safe pressure, Captain. She's giving all she's got." The Thunderchild shuddered as her broadside batteries opened up, traditional gunpowder-based railguns throwing depleted uranium shells alongside hybrid plasma cannons powered by steam turbines. Through the viewport, Benny watched their salvos strike one of the alien vessels. Where advanced energy weapons had merely been absorbed by the strange hull, their primitive kinetic weapons tore through it like paper. "Would you look at that?" Martinez grinned from his station. "Sometimes you just can't beat good old-fashioned heavy metal moving really damn fast." The victory was short-lived. 3 more alien ships emerged from the purple fog, their forms seeming to twist reality around them. One of them turned toward the Thunderchild, its hull splitting open like a blooming flower to reveal something that made Benny's skin crawl. "Holy shit," he breathed. "Those aren't ships. They're alive." The creature within the ship was massive, a writhing mess of biomechanical components and crystalline structures. Its eyes, if you could call them that, locked onto their position. Sergeant T. Lara called out. "They're attempting another systems hack." But her frills rippled with what Benny had learned was amusement. "They still can't interface with our coal systems. Their biotech can't make sense of our primitive technology." The ship rocked again as they traded fire with the alien vessels. Through the command channel, Benny could hear reports from the other human ships in the area. The HMS Thunderer and HMS Victory were still in the fight, their coal-fired engines pushing through the dampening field, their hybrid weapons causing actual damage to the enemy. Bridge to engineering, Captain Cook's voice was tense. "We're picking up strange readings from the enemy fleet. They're trying to adapt to our weapons, but they seem confused by our heat signature. Sergeant Sears, how much smoke can you generate from those boilers?" Benny grinned. "Sir, you want us to smoke them out?" "Affirmative, Sergeant." "Let's show them why they call it a smoke screen." T. Lara, Benny shouted. "Disengage the emission scrubbers. Martinez, get me the high carbon coal from storage bay 3. Everyone else, prepare for maximum smoke generation." "You humans are insane," T. Lara said, but her frills showed excitement as she worked her controls, deliberately creating waste products as a tactical advantage. It's brilliant," Benny suggested as he adjusted the coal feed. The Thunderchild stacks belched forth great clouds of black smoke, the particle density confusing the alien targeting systems even further. Their energy beams went wild, unable to lock onto the ship's true position through the artificial nebula they'd created. "It's working," came the cry from the bridge. "Their targeting efficiency is down 60%. All human vessels, coordinate smokescreen patterns." The battlefield became a swirling maze of coal smoke and weapons fire. The alien bioships, for all their advanced technology, seemed completely baffled by this ancient form of warfare. Their attempts to analyze and adapt to the smoke only seemed to confuse them more. By the first suns, Lara whispered in awe. Even their organic components are struggling. The carbon particles are interfering with their sensory abilities. Another impact rocked the ship, this one harder than the others. Warning klaxons blared as damage reports flooded in. "Hull breach on Deck 3, the AI announced. "Enemy boarding parties detected." Benny exchanged looks with his engineering team. They all knew what that meant. Somewhere above them, those biomechanical horrors were trying to take their ship. "All hands," Captain Cook's voice was iron-hard now. "Repel boarders. Engineering team, maintain power at all costs. If they take the engine room, they take the ship." Benny checked his sidearm, noting that the rest of his team was doing the same. Around them, the Thunderchild's boilers roared their defiance into space, smoke and steam and human determination standing against impossible odds. "Well," he said, taking up position near the main access hatch, "they want to see how humans do war. Let's show them how we've been doing it since the Industrial Revolution." The sound of combat grew closer as the Thunderchild continued her battle, coal smoke wreathing her like armor against the darkness of space. The first alien boarder that breached engineering died to a face full of superheated steam from a deliberately ruptured pipe. The second met its end under concentrated fire from Benny's team, its biomechanical components proving surprisingly vulnerable to good old-fashioned lead. "SEAL that breached," Benny shouted, ducking behind a boiler housing as more creatures poured through the torn bulkhead. "Lara, status on the colony evac." The Centaurian engineer's scales had shifted to a battle-ready crimson as she divided her attention between her console and her plasma pistol. Ground teams report 2,000 survivors gathered at the primary extraction point, but the alien ships are still blocking direct approach vectors. Another explosion rocked the ship. Through the command channel, Benny could hear Captain Cook coordinating with the other human vessels, using their combined smokescreens to create a corridor for rescue ships. Multiple hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, the ship's AI reported with infuriating calm. Enemy boarding parties are attempting to access critical systems, unable to prevent intrusion through conventional cyber warfare countermeasures. "That's because there's nothing to hack," Martinez called out triumphantly from his position near the main coal hopper. "Can't hack a pressure gauge. Can't hack a steam valve. Can't hack good old American coal." As if to punctuate his point, Martinez opened an emergency dump valve, sending a cascade of coal tumbling onto a group of advancing boarders. The aliens screeched an otherworldly sound that set Benny's teeth on edge as they were buried under tons of fossil fuel. "Bridge to engineering," Captain Cook's voice cut through the chaos. "Status report." "Engineering secured," Sir Benny responded, firing another burst at a particularly persistent alien trying to breach their secondary barricade. "We've got boarders contained, and all critical systems are functional." "Good man. We've got rescue ships moving in now. I need everything those boilers can give us to maintain this smokescreen." Lara's frills suddenly snapped up in alarm. "Sergeant, the enemy vessels, they're changing formation. I think they've finally figured out what we're doing." Through the viewport, Benny watched as the massive bioships began to move in concert, their strange geometries creating patterns that hurt his eyes. The purple dampening field intensified, and with it came a new type of attack, some kind of energy pulse that seemed designed to ignite their coal reserves. "They're targeting our fuel," Lara shouted, "attempting to destabilize our coal storage." "Like hell they are," Benny growled, rushing to the main control panel. "Martinez, emergency vent sequence Delta. Lara, reroute power to the containment fields." The Thunderchild shuddered as they executed the maneuver, deliberately venting superheated steam into space through their external ports. The sudden thermal burst disrupted the alien energy pulse, buying them precious time. The rescue ships report first wave of civilians secured, the AI announced. 1,300 survivors evacuated, 700 remaining at extraction point. Another impact rocked the ship. Through the smoke and chaos, Benny could see T. Lara's expression change as she monitored her readings. "The enemy ships," she said, her voice filled with surprise. They're backing off. Our thermal emissions are so chaotic, so primitive by their standards, that they can't maintain a target lock." "Bridge here," Captain Cook announced. "All hands prepare for final evacuation run. Engineering, I don't care if you have to burn every last lump of coal in storage, keep those boilers hot and that smoke flowing." Benny looked at his team, human and alien alike, all covered in coal dust and sweat, all fighting together to save what lives they could. Then he looked at his beloved engines, still thundering away, still pushing back the darkness with steam and smoke and raw human determination. "You heard the captain," he said, reaching for the master control lever. "Let's show these galaxy-spanning bastards what coal-powered really means." The Thunder Child's boilers roared louder than ever as they made their final push, trailing smoke and defiance across the stars. "Multiple contacts," the bridge announcement came just as Benny finished sealing the last breach in engineering. "Human signatures. The fourth coal fleet has arrived." Through the viewport, Benny watched as 24 human warships dropped out of FTL, their coal stacks already blazing. The HMS Warrior led the formation, her massive bulk nearly as impressive as the Thunder Child's. Behind her came the Devastation, the Dreadnought, and others, humanity's obsolete fleet, arriving just in time. "Would you look at that?" Martinez whispered, grinning through the coal dust that covered his face. "It's like the whole damn Industrial Revolution just showed up." The alien bioships turned to face the new threat, their strange geometries twisting as they tried to extend their dampening field. But the human fleet was ready for them, their combined smoke screens creating a vast, artificial nebula that played havoc with the enemy's targeting systems. "Bridge to engineering," Captain Cook's voice carried a note of fierce pride. "Status of our remaining coal reserves." Benny checked his readings. "Down to 28%, sir. But we've still got enough fight left in her." "Good. Because I want these bastards to remember what happens when they attack human colonies. All ships, coordinate smoke patterns and prepare for Operation Steamroller." T. Lara's frills extended in surprise as she saw the tactical display. "You're not seriously going to form a line of battle?" Benny grinned. "Just like the old wooden ships used to do?" "Hell yes, we are." The human fleet moved with practiced precision, forming a wall of steel and smoke that would have made Admiral Nelson proud. The alien vessels, for all their advanced technology, seemed confused by the antiquated formation. Enemy vessels attempting to calculate targeting solutions, the ship's AI reported. Their biological components appear to be experiencing severe disruption from particulate matter in their sensor ranges. "That's right," Martinez laughed. "Choke on our smoke, you deep space squids." The Thunder Child's guns opened up in concert with the rest of the fleet. Railgun shells and hybrid plasma bolts tore through the smoke screen in a devastating broadside. The alien ships, unable to properly track their attackers through the artificial fog, took devastating hits. Direct hits confirmed on multiple hostile vessels, came the cry from fire control. Their adaptive shielding can't compensate for kinetic impacts of this magnitude. Another alien ship bloomed open, revealing its biological core. But before it could launch any countermeasures, the HMS Warrior slammed a full broadside into the exposed flesh. The creature's death scream resonated through the Thunder Child's hull. "That's what you get," Benny muttered as he adjusted power flow to the weapons systems. "That's what you get for thinking we'd ever give up our coal." Sergeant T. Lara called out, her scales shifting to a warning orange. "Long-range sensors are picking up." By the first suns, her voice trailed off. Benny rushed to her station and felt his blood run cold. Behind the enemy fleet, space itself seemed to be tearing open. Through the rift, he could see more ships. Hundreds more. Thousands. "Bridge, engineering," Benny called out, his voice tight. "Are you seeing this?" "Affirmative," Sergeant Captain Cook replied grimly. It appears we've gotten their attention. All ships, collect our rescued civilians, and prepare for emergency departure. We need to warn the Alliance." The Thunderchild's boilers screamed as they pushed her to the limit, her coal reserves burning ever lower as she covered the retreat of the rescue ships. Through the smoke and fire and chaos of battle, Benny could see the truth written in the stars. This wasn't just a raid. This wasn't just an incursion. This was an invasion. And humanity's coal-powered fleet might be the only thing standing between these monsters and the rest of the galaxy. The data cores recovered from Xavier 7 painted a grim picture. Benny stood in the Thunderchild's main briefing room, still covered in coal dust, as the holographic display showed the full scope of what they were facing. 3 galaxies, Captain Cook said, his voice heavy. They've already consumed 3 entire galaxies, and now they've set their sights on ours. The rescued colonists had brought with them fragments of alien data, biological samples, and recordings of the initial invasion. Lara stood next to Benny, her scales a troubled gray as she analyzed the findings. Their technology. "It's beyond anything we've ever encountered," she said. "They don't just conquer, they absorb. They adapt. Her frills drooped. Perfect, Benny scoffed, watching the replay of their battle. They sure didn't look so perfect when they were choking on coal smoke and eating railgun shells. The briefing room's viewport showed the rest of the human fleet escorting them back to Alliance space. Black smoke still trailed from their stacks, marking their passage through the void. The very thing that had made them objects of ridicule might now be the galaxy's best hope for survival. Sir Benny addressed Captain Cook. "What are our orders?" The old captain stood at the viewport, watching the stars streak by. "We make for Alliance HQ at full steam. The Council needs to see this." He turned to face his crew. "And they need to understand that their advanced tech, their antimatter drives, their quantum cores, they're all vulnerabilities now. The enemy can shut them down with a thought. But they can't shut down Cole." Martinez added from his position near the door. "Can't shut down steam. Can't shut down human stubbornness." Which is why Captain Cook continued. "The Alliance is about to get a crash course in Industrial Revolution technology. Every ship in the fleet is going to need coal power. Every crew is going to need to learn the old ways." Lara's frills suddenly shot up in what Benny recognized as determination. "I will volunteer to help train other Alliance engineers. They must understand that sometimes the old ways are the best ways." The hologram shifted to show the rift they'd seen, the tier in space through which an armada of bioships waited to pour. The Thunderchild's AI calculated they had perhaps 3 months before the main invasion force arrived. 3 months to prepare the galaxy for war. 3 months to teach them the power of coal. Sergeant Sears' Captain Cook's voice pulled Benny from his thoughts. "Get down to engineering. I want those boilers ready for maximum burn. We're going to need every ounce of speed we can get." "Aye, Sir." Benny snapped a salute, then turned to his team. "Well, you heard the captain. Let's show the Alliance why we never gave up our coal." As they made their way back to engineering, Benny could feel the Thunderchild's heart beating through her deck plates, the steady thrum of her boilers, the hiss of steam, the rattle of coal through the feeders. It was the sound of humanity's defiance, the rhythm of their determination. Let the alien horrors come with their bioships and their dampening fields. Let them bring their advanced technology and their adaptive strategies. They'd learn what every empire before them had learned. Never bet against human stubbornness. Never underestimate human ingenuity. And never, ever mock our coal-powered ships. Because sometimes the old ways aren't just tradition. Sometimes they're salvation. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.